trying to figure out what was going on. And it was the same thing. And so
Green Bullion, you're just upset that I destroyed you. That's the only reason you're mad. It's the only reason you're here. Welcome, everybody, to the after show of the debate between Schrodinger's cat and Marilyn's spirit level. Pretty much what we expected. Oh, actually, less than we expected, if I'm being honest. Schrodinger, how are you today?
I'm excellent. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. That was that was a lot of fun, despite I spent a lot of time jumping up and down in front of my computer just going, that's not how that works. But what are you going to do? Also with
Why
us...
do I put so much prep into these debates?
Yeah.
Does somebody tell me?
Yeah, I don't know why you're always so prepared and then they bring nothing. And it's unbelievable. We also have with us one of my favorite astrophotographers, if not my favorite. We have Geistview with us today. How are you, sir?
Good yourself. Hello, everybody. How's everybody's evening or days where you all be?
There was a lot of angry people who came over from MC Tunes chat. I think people are feeling the rage like I was. I assume you got a chance to see it as well, Geistview.
Yeah, I got the I guess maybe the last 30 minutes of it, I guess.
Okay. Well, that's the best part because that's when she got angry.
Yeah, when she started bringing up Antarctica and stuff like that, and photography and moons and stuff like astrophotography and moons and whatnot, and P900s and looking through a telescope and looking through a P1000, P100, R900, and all that jazz, and seeing different images, and then she goes on a wild tangent from there. But that's for later.
I knew that would annoy you because she mentioned she bought a telescope when she first started learning about flat Earth. She looked up at the stars and it was just a white light. And I don't think she knows what image stacking is. I don't think she knows what a Batinov mask is. I don't think she knows anything about how telescopes actually work.
No, she has no clue. And she, like you said, she goes, well, I looked at my telescope, and then I looked in a P1900, and it was two completely different things, and then all of a sudden, conspiracy. So that's why
I kept bringing up all this time that you're spending on the streets walking around. How much time are you spending prepping before you do that?
Yeah, it's more like... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say she's got her board of talking points. She doesn't need to prep.
No, she has a script.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
Well, that's why I brought up from the beginning. It's like you're parroting an anti-Semitic yoga instructor from Thailand. What else is there to anything she said?
Yeah, it was very much Dubé with like a lot more incredulity thrown in.
It's like when you ask her flat Earth scientists, whatever, and the first person she brought up was robots, and I just actually had to step away and laugh at that one.
And she's like, doctor.
I am shocked that you didn't laugh out loud at that moment, Schrodinger.
I have restraint, if nothing else.
That was amazing. And what amazes me is the ending bit, is what got her mad. Like, can anyone figure out exactly what Cliff said that was more over the line than anything else in the debate?
No, I can't.
Not the part that I saw.
Yeah, but she was mad at the end there when she just goes, "You're an idiot. You're an ass." I was like, wait a second. I feel like I'm watching one of those World Star Hip Hop videos now of like a lady freaking out in Walmart.
Well, if you notice, once she started getting questions that were kind of uncomfortable on her area where she really doesn't quite understand things, where she really doesn't have answers, that's when she started getting really defensive, and it kind of turned over to I'm getting so uncomfortable here because people are asking me these questions I can't answer. So I'm gonna start raging about something else, and then I'm gonna use that as an excuse to not be here.
Well, let's talk about what I didn't bring up. Well, I kind of brought up where she said that she told someone that she was a physics major, and I do have audio of that. And I have audio and, well, not so much video, but I have audio of her. It's no secret that she takes care of her aging mother, who's in her early to mid 90s. There's a video on her channel of her forcing her mother to hand out these little cards these Flat Earth 101 cards. And at one point, her mother, she says, "Do you have your cards?" And her mother says, "What cards?" And she says, "The cards we're handing out." And she says, "Why must I do this?" This is the mother.
Mm-hmm.
And you can hear the frailty in her voice. She says, "Why must I do this?" And she says, "Just reach the cards out the window and people will take them from you." Wow. What the fuck?
That's like on the level of those scam calls that work on the
elder
elderly.
abuse. Yeah.
That's really low.
Yeah, and it would have been kind of a dick move for me to bring it up, but it wouldn't be a dick move for me to make a video about it. Just
well,
saying.
if she started going the personal route, that's one of the cards I would have thrown out.
Well, yeah, no, I kept that in my back pocket, and that's why I have the audio of it. But the lady said, "Why must I do this?" I mean,
it was along the same. Sorry.
I was going to say, it sounds like she doesn't even really know what's going on, and that's sad that she's being taken advantage of that way.
Right.
And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, near the part of the end where she's complaining about Schrodinger's certificates of training and stuff like that. That's just a piece of paper. That doesn't mean anything. It's just a paper. And that's when I would have ripped out that card. Well, if we're going to take this personal, we'll just listen to this.
Well, didn't she mention her 4-year college degree like 3 times in her intro?
I didn't get the intro. I got the later parts.
Yeah, and she has a business degree from some school. It sounds like a legit school, like a legit 4-year school, but she brought that up 3 times in the intro.
Right. And
it's kind of like along the lines of a JM Truth they have to make sure that that they're smart. It's more, they're more worried about how their perception is to you than actually what they're knowing or understanding of what they're talking about. It's, it's like, don't make fun of me. I'm smart too. And I'm going to show you how smart I am. Now listen to me, kind of thing, versus the evidence that you're presenting.
And if you watch her videos, she always throws out, "Well, my dad was a math teacher and a Navy pilot." Like,
Dad didn't believe the Earth was flat.
Exactly, and I was trying to edge her towards bringing him up so that I could throw that out there because, knowledge is not genetic.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, you can know something that doesn't pass through your genes.
Yeah. Before we get too sidetracked, I did get a super chat I just wanted to read out here. Mr. Present 99, who I don't recognize, but I love that avatar. It's the Brotherhood of Nod avatar from Command and Conquer. All my favorite debunkers keep on keeping on. One question: why do you do what you do? It is a lost cause after all, isn't it? First off, I'll say no, it's not a lost cause. But to answer for myself, I don't really do what I do for the flat earthers. I do it for anyone who might be legitimately questioning, hey, do I actually know everything? Have I maybe been lied to? People who are on the fence and legitimately asking questions. And hopefully, when they seek out the answers, they'll find mine and they'll find flat earth content and they'll decide which holds up better. And I'm pretty confident in which does. What about you guys?
Go ahead, Ken.
I'm here for the lulz.
That's the best answer.
Well, now that we're talking about it, maybe what really set her off is when I said that the well's dry, the flat earth well. Maybe that's what made her call me an ass.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you basically outright dismiss what she was saying, and then she takes really offense to that. Like, she thinks that you're obligated to listen to what she says, and when you listen to her, you have to agree with it. It's always about, they say, do your research, but that just means, listen to what I'm telling you and believe what I'm telling you. It has a double meaning when they say do your research.
Well, it's also noteworthy that the sailor didn't cuss, but the Christian did. I went that whole time without saying a cuss word.
I
gritting my teeth.
I didn't know she was a religious flat earther. I mean, most of them are, but I didn't know if she leaned on that at all. And can I just say, is it just me, or like, because I'm not a Christian myself, I'm an agnostic. And in my opinion, if there was a God, the universe that we know of is far more beautiful and complicated and interesting than the world flat earthers think they live in, which is, just here and heaven, and that's it.
And water.
And
yeah.
water, yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
the snow globe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's a concept in Christianity called general revelation, right? Have you guys ever heard of that?
Long time ago, when I when I was debating people who believe in that stuff. That was years and years ago.
Fair enough. Okay. It's basically the way a Christian would see it is it's the way God reveals himself through the nature of the universe. And that's kind of what I'm getting at there is like for if you're going to believe in a God, believe in one who puts all this stuff out there and leaves you with this vast expanse to learn about, not one who keeps you in a little fishbowl. Like that's just an awful God.
A fishbowl on the counter.
Yeah.
Really doesn't seem to be doing much with the fishbowl lately.
No.
Yeah, I liked the Christopher Hitchens saying that we were in a cosmic North Korea.
Interesting.
So he said at least in North Korea you can die.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Oh damn. Oh, and what was that? That just reminded me. You made a really great joke during the stream, Schrodinger. What was it? It was someone looks like.
Oh yeah. It was Robbie Davis and looks like Slender Man's great grandfather after a stay in a concentration camp.
Yeah. Oh man, that was.
I haven't got a chuckle out of from Tune out of that one.
I remember watching it was some rap video from the Flat Earth conference or something like that, where they're up on the stage rapping and
dancing.
You got him up there dancing. I was like, that's so goddamn cringy. It's it's like watching your math teacher dance at a fucking excuse my language.
Feel free. My channel is not for kids.
Yes, but still, I'm trying to be a little bit courteous here. He's the sailor. I'm the soldier. So, yeah, but you got him dancing up on the stage up there. It's like watching a math teacher dance at a Sadie Hawkins dance in the '80s or something like that, because he had to be the chaperone.
Did anybody see Multi Tom Tom in the chat saying that I was losing?
Yeah. That's one thing you got to remember about Tom Tom. Tom Tom is not a flat earther. He is a cube earther. He will literally get you to argue flat Earth for an hour or through a long comment thread just for him to come out at the end and say, I'm not a flat earther. I don't support that. He just basically wastes your time. So if you ever get into engagements with Tom Tom, just remember he's a cube earther, and he's also a Muslim cube earther too. So you just got to keep that in your mind when you're talking with him.
A Muslim cube earther.
Yes,
it's arguable that the Quran makes a better case for a flat Earth than the Bible does.
He has put out that he thinks or he believes that the shape of the Earth is the same as the I'm going to butcher the name of it, but the Kaaba, which is the black stone they circle around in Mecca, that is the shape of the Earth.
So like a little Caesar's pizza.
Pretty much, Caesar's or pizza.
Yeah. But it was just funny because I'm looking at 3 different screens while I'm debating. I just look over and I see Multi Tom Tom. Schrodinger's losing. I'm like, when did that start? I don't remember that part.
Are we watching the same debate?
Yeah.
Tom will literally grab to anything that's counter to what a globe model or globes or anything. If it's the most stupidest thing he can think of and it's counter to the globe, he'll just latch right onto it because it's just part of the conspiracy thing. He has to be counter.
He's just a contrarian. That's all he is.
Yeah. That's the word I was looking for.
I've noticed he hasn't joined any, voice hangouts in probably 2 years. Because I used to hear him now and then. He would join up and talk about things, and now he's just a keyboard dude.
Oh wow, I've never heard him. If you have any links to that, or if you can find some, I would love to hear him speak. That'd be interesting.
Oh God, I would have to go way back. I can't even remember if he's American or English or what. But
he's got a thick British accent. He's, like I said, you can also tell that he's a Muslim too. just by that part of the accent.
Right.
And the stuff that he's put out over time. But like I said, when you debate with a guy online, you're talking about flat Earth and stuff. Just remember, he's not a flat Earther. He is a cube Earther with a Pac-Man son. That is his model that he believes in.
Oh yeah, he's the Pac-Man dude. Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the Pac-Man dudes.
Pac-Man.
Oh hey,
son.
Amy Hogan. See you in the chat.
Yeah, Pac-Man son. If you don't know what that is, Kennedy, that's when you take your Pac-Man goes to one side of the game, and you take him to the left, and he pops up on the right. That's Pac-Man, Pac-Man son. The sun just disappears and reappears he basically says when the sun sets, it basically disappears and then reappears on the east.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like those guys who presented a quote unquote model to Reds and Sean Hufford, who said that there's like basically a portal and the sun teleports from one side of the earth to the other.
Yeah. He's the portal guy.
Instead of just calling it a portal, you can just call it the Pac-Man son. It's the same concept.
Fair enough.
Yeah. We didn't get to the part in the debate where, because she believes that the sun is no more than 10 miles high. But I didn't get to the part where, what about planes that would literally burn up due to their proximity to the sun?
Or not only that, why doesn't the sun leave a visible wake? Why don't you hear it when it breaks the sound barrier? Why don't you see the pressure wave from it? Yada yada. It goes on and
on. Just really quickly, because someone mentioned it in the chat, and I figure I should explain, because I don't think you can see it, Schrodinger. I kind of modified my standard live stream debate screen, and took a screenshot from the video you did of field stripping an AR-15. So it's just you dramatically holding up an AR-15, and I figured it was appropriate. And someone asked, who was it? Aaron Massa? They said, who's the Burke with the AR-15? And everybody's going, that's Schrodinger.
Well, I do see it, and let me address one thing.
Okay.
The clip that you took, that is not poor trigger finger discipline.
No, there's no clip.
Well, that plus that's me doing a function check.
Oh, okay.
So if you see, that's me squeezing the trigger as part of a function check.
Okay.
I'm sure that I'm on my cell phone, so I can't get triggered by watching it.
Yeah. Well, I know that you would probably be one of the ones that'd be like, why is his finger touching the trigger? Because I know I would be. But yeah, well, I did a function check during that video.
Whenever I had to shoot long range and stuff like that, I would always use my my middle finger as a trigger finger.
Really?
I've never even thought of that. What benefit is that?
Well, I've always found it better for because it's kind of hard to explain, but when you have you got your well, we're going way off topic here, but anyways, it's for me, when I pull with my my middle finger, if you have your hand basically pointing straight out and you pull with your middle, you see your two fingers on both your index and whatever the hell that other one is, the ones that are both sides of your middle finger. When you pull your middle finger into your
index
palm,
and your ring finger.
Yeah, those two fingers will basically kind of follow your middle finger inwards. But if you have something in the way to block those two fingers, you basically can kind of counter the pull that your middle finger is going to be pointing. It basically keeps it helps with trigger pull. It keeps the weapon from going to the left to the right, because you can basically use instead of just using the power your middle finger, your pointing finger, your index finger to pull the trigger. Your middle finger is stronger. Plus, you can use your index and your ring finger to kind of push away from your middle finger as you're squeezing it. They kind of give you a little bit more control just before trigger release. So I've always found that for long range shooting, for me it's always been, I've always fired with my my middle finger, and when it's CQB, I always use my index finger.
Yeah, I learned when I was a boy to shoot with my middle finger just because, your hand size. I had MLQs, as all children do. I don't. For any civilians, MLQs is midget-like qualities, so your hands are small. And
I got
So,
big
yeah.
hands. I got big hands, but I always learned in the Army when we always had to do weapons qualifications, and you have to shoot at the 300-meter target. I can hit the 300-meter target with my index, but I found out I hit it more often if I use my middle finger. So during weapons qualifications, when it's the 50, the 100, the 150 meter targets, I always use my index finger. But anything at 200 or past, I always use my middle finger, and I'll actually swap between the two during the range for qualifications.
Yeah.
And
Well, when you're doing CQB, you're mostly instinct shooting too.
yeah,
You know, both eyes open. You're just shooting off instinct.
yeah. But we're going way off topic off the Maryland
yeah.
thing.
And here I am, the Canadian who doesn't know a damn thing about guns, just sitting here going, "That's interesting."
You could call it a boomstick. It's okay.
The thing is, you Canadians up in the Yukon you have guns everywhere.
Oh yeah.
I don't think you guys know it, but yeah, they're everywhere. Up
Oh
there.
yeah, no. There's like this impression that because Canada has different gun laws that Canadians just don't have guns. Yes, we do. It's just hidden in strategic places.
That's fine. Let's get back on to consider our audience.
Sure.
Briny Beaver, hey, dude.
Considering that, Mr. President 99 gave another super chat. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. 10. The one that looks like an E is euros, right?
Yes.
Okay. 10 euros. He said, but you do know me, Twitter at President99. Ah, shoot. Yes, I do. Anyway, to believe in God and the flat earth, that's like pineapple on a pizza. Just wrong on all accounts. They just don't get the size of this earth. I'm not going to restart the pineapple versus pizza debate because it's just not worth it.
Yeah, I like turtles.
Exactly.
Brian Peck's in the chat, so if you get shot, he can fix you.
Nice. Yes, Sisyphus, thank you. See, as soon as you said boomstick Schrodinger, my first thought was shop smart, shop S smart, and that's what they put.
Shop S smart.
It's like when flat earthers say, "Show me the curve." Well, they want to see the left and the right curve. They never specify. They just say, "Show me the curve," and you can show them, the drop and all that jippy jazz. And they will always say, "That's not what I'm talking about," or whatever. But I don't think flat earthers, can grasp the size that our planet is. They think we're living on a beach ball, where if they're standing at a particular point in it's perfectly flat where they're standing, and they let go of a racquetball by their feet, and it should roll to the south. That's I think what they think, or most of them.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, we've seen
Right.
evidence
That's what I
of...
tried to get to with that one.
Go ahead. No. You got it.
Remember when I had the whiteboard out and she was talking about water flow, and so I was trying to explain gravity in the downward direction, and I said, so if water's over here, of course it's not going to flow this way because there's no reason for it to. And they don't get that. They don't get the difference between elevation and a gravitational pull.
Yeah, they think when they say down, when they're always talking about down on stuff, like with the globe down, they try to think of like an external down to the Earth. That things should be falling off towards, instead of falling. We know on a sphere down is to the center. If you got your little foam ball for your pitcher, and you put a bunch of little soldier guys on it with their feet on it, they're all pointing down. Their feet are all pointing to down. But flat earthers think there's an external down to the Earth, and to their flat Earth that gives the down a reference point. But even in their buoyancy and density thing, it doesn't answer any. It doesn't give a vector. It doesn't give acceleration, because literally you can move side to side and it still meets that definition of buoyancy and density. And throwing something up in the air, it should keep going because it's more dense than the air that it's in. There's nothing to slow it down. So why does everything have a universal direction, which is down? But flat earthers think there's a universal down external to the Earth, either be the flat Earth or the globe Earth. The thing should be falling off too. So,
well, yeah, with buoyancy and density, things would fall up.
Well, like I said, with buoyancy and density, Even that same argument, you can put something and go side to side. Why can it go side to
there's a
side?
cold front.
Well, I'm talking about like putting a ball on a table. Why can the ball go side to side? Because the air on both sides is less dense than the other side, or less dense than the ball, so the ball can roll. It's the same. It meets the same meets the same standards, if they want to put it that way. Theirs doesn't explain it. It doesn't give it down. They just say it's down, but they don't. It doesn't give a reason for it. Like why you take your cell phone and you rotate it from portrait from portrait to landscape. How does the phone know which way is down? The phone can't look at a horizon and go, that's where the horizon is. The phone doesn't have an eye and say, it's now at my eye level. There's something external to the phone telling the phone which way to orientate itself.
Right, it has to use the accelerometer.
Yes, and if it's the accelerometer is not reading 9.8 meters per second, then it doesn't know which way to orientate itself. That's why if you can take a cell phone and spin it around fast enough, you can actually trick the phone or your iPad to think that down is a different direction because you're accelerating it. So
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I've seen the things with the cell phone in free fall, and the phone has no idea what to do.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be interesting. I would love to see that. I should look that up.
That's why
I can't think of one off the top of my head, but there's a few.
It's, if you put a phone on, like I said, if you can spin around a phone fast enough and you can trick the accelerometer to go faster than 9.8 meters per second, it'll think that down is a whole different direction. And it has nothing to do about the phone changing its weight on a certain side of the phone. It's because the phone's mass hasn't changed. It's the same phone, but it's, the accelerometer is, registering a different direction. Because it's
if you actually wanted, the easier way to do it would be to move it upwards.
Yeah, you can
with
do
the
that.
high-speed camera rather than free-falling it. If you could make an apparatus that would just pull it upwards faster than 9.8 meters per second.
Because I've been on a C-130 going to Baghdad, watching a movie on my on my iPad, and we started descending into Baghdad. Back in the day, they called it quote unquote putting on the brakes. You basically just drop right out of the sky. Yeah, and I was watching
landing.
Yeah, and I was watching a movie on my iPad, and as soon as they started to descend, my the screen flipped upside down because it was the acceleration screwed it all up. So now I basically was getting ready to land, so I started packing away, but they didn't tell us because you don't have headphones on. You just got these earplugs, and everything's really noisy. So I was just watching. All of a sudden, down we went, and my entire screen on my iPad flipped upside down because now it registered a whole different quote unquote up because the acceleration
changed. I was trying to
changed.
explain to somebody the other day combat takeoffs and combat landings. It's a whole different thing than flying commercial.
Oh yeah, and Air Force calls it putting on the brakes. Watch out, everybody! We're putting on the brakes. That means hold on to something because you're about to go down really, really fast.
You're going to dive. You're basically doing the vomit comet, except it's free.
Ish.
The last part of the vomit comet's flight, right? Or the last part of its parabola, I guess.
Probably.
Nope.
Yeah.
I thought maybe I was horribly misunderstanding due to the silence.
No, I had to actually think about it before somebody quotes something and makes a quote mine out of some bullshit. Sorry.
Oh my god!
It's almost like when I told Marilyn an hour and a half ago about her dumbass formula. How was a parabola? She didn't seem to understand what I was saying.
They never understand, there's always a fundamental disconnect of certain words I've found. They don't know what a parabola is, and have you ever seen when Joey Rocha was on MC Toon's channel and and he cites that whole Kansas as flat as a pancake thing, and MC Toon just starts reading off the page and he goes the relative flatness of an ellipse or arc is determined, and he's going on, and you don't see any reaction from Joey Roca, and I'm like, you don't know what an ellipse is, do you?
No, their little brain has a script. They see the word flat and they run with it. Kansas is flat as a pancake, so that means the Earth is flat. So I'm trying to figure out how they got Kansas and that part all kind of messed up. But it's flat measured from a distance from something.
Well, Sleeping Warrior is still reading the same paragraphs out of references that people have made video after video saying, okay, here's what the next paragraph says. But he still keeps going back and making videos reading that first paragraph.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knowing that the rest of the entire thing debunks him.
Yeah, the ever-present flat Earth quote mine, and yeah. It's just hard. It's not really. It's hard to explain, but it's just they can't get off a script. Once they get their brain stuck on something, it takes them forever to get off it. It's like J.M. Truth on his, 10 to the negative 17, and they still think it's a negative number because it has the word it has the word negative in it, but they just don't understand it. So many places to the right of a decimal point, it doesn't have that big little minus symbol.
And they don't understand the concept of an absolute, or is it called an absolute scale when it starts at a 0 point and only moves in one direction? They don't understand that you can't really have negative pressure.
Because like absolute zero, you don't have negative absolute zero.
Right.
Well, here's my. I'm going to make a prediction here that the next week or within the next 2 weeks, we're going to have Marilyn Spirit Level back out on the street saying things that I debunked tonight.
Guarantee it.
Money on it.
Where does she street FE at?
Pennsylvania, around not quite Philly, but I guess that would be the closest metro areas would be around Philly.
I thought she might be in somewhere around where I get around to every once in a while down there in LA or something like that. That's where I used to, back in the mid 90s and stuff like that, when I was on leave and I would come back to the States and I would go to LA, I would debate street flat earthers. And I'm talking about this is like 95, 96, 98. This was the same, they'd be down there doing their thing right next to the right by the Scientologist table. They'd be almost sitting right next to him. And it'd be like, you guys are both nuts. But
I didn't know there were flat earthers back then.
Yeah, there were a few. They were right around there with the Earth is doomed. It's all going to be destroyed. But they were mostly the Christian flat earthers. They would be citing stuff from the Bible. They're basically more like a Nathan Thompson kind of people. They would have their little tables, but mostly what they had out there was because we didn't have the internet back then, so they didn't have big ass printouts. They had stuff from Zetetic.com, but
Zeteticism.com.
Yeah, not .com, but the
book.
The book.
Zetetic, the book. Yeah.
Zetetic Astronomy. They would have printouts of they would have stuff photocopied off of that when they went down to the library and just printed off 30 copies of different pages, and they would have that taped onto a table with a big piece of plastic over it, and you had to read their stuff, and they'd be talking about level and flat and stuff like that. And I'm like, flat and level are not the same thing. And then we get into it like for a half hour, and then this is before you had the cell phone, so you couldn't like whip up the definition. Yeah. So I started actually walking around with a backpack with a dictionary and stuff in my backpack for quick referencing. I actually had stuff all tabbed out and everything. So every time I see these people, and sometimes they would see me coming and either pack up or didn't want to talk to me or try and get the cops to get me to go away from their table because I was pestering them. And then I got bored with flat earth, so I started debating Christians and stuff like that online. This was like back in 2013 and 14, and then I got bored of that, so that's when I started getting up on the whole flat earth thing. That's when I started doing stuff online. But
this lady Marilyn is a big devotee of the other Nathan Roberts.
Oh no,
the one that goes into Target and tears up books.
Yeah. Well, you got Nathan Thompson goes in there and does puts in is it Nathan Thompson or
Thompson's the one that goes after the NASA employees.
Yeah, he's the one who harassed a guy who might not even have been a NASA employee in a Starbucks.
Yeah.
And I think there was another one recently. It was in like a parking lot, and he claimed the guy was stalking him, and it was clearly the exact opposite.
Yeah. Then
I think that was Thompson as well.
Yeah.
And then basically
Roberts is the super Christian one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Thompson's also the one who will actually go into Target and cut it open to bags to put in little flat Earth flyers into.
Yeah.
Oh, what a God damn it! They're so like, it's.
Well, Flat Earth Fokker does that as well.
They love to talk about how like education is indoctrinating us and all this kind of crap. Like all of their means of disseminating information are way more insidious than anything we or the education systems of the world or anybody does.
Right. You know, that's how I became aware of Fokker, is because he had videos where he would go in stores and like open up shoe boxes and drop in little things, and then he would go to like 12 packs of beer and like slip in little pieces of paper. But who gives a shit about a piece of paper when you're halfway through a 12 pack?
Yeah.
I mean, Lord knows I don't.
Well, they think if they that the Earth will eventually become flat if they just get enough people just to believe in it. Like if you just pray hard enough, the Earth will become flat. It's not how it works.
Well, she said that during the debate. She said they just have to reach critical mass.
When I start seeing 1 million flat earther march on NASA headquarters, then I'll actually start, having concerns about where flat Earth is going.
Yeah.
But right now, it's just basically lives on the internet. It lives in Reddit. It lives on YouTube. It lives in Discord servers. That's about as far as it gets to do anything. Because I had, after I retired from the Army out of Fort Irwin, I worked with as a contractor with Harris Radio out of Goldstone, the tracking station out of Goldstone by Fort Irwin. And I had a desk and I had a wall locker in JPL, because that's where we also had equipment over there also that we had to go check every once in a while. And every time I had to go through the JPL gate, not every time, maybe 75%, 70% of the time, there would be a couple flat earthers out there with signs, the Earth is flat, they're lying to you, NASA lies, all that jazz. And it would be,
that would be hilarious.
Yeah, they would just sit outside the gate and do their thing, but they really couldn't do anything. They couldn't tackle you or get in front of your vehicles and get them arrested. But they just sat out there with their signs in the shade. And when it got really hot, that's when you wouldn't see them for a while. And they would come back in the evening when it got cooler. And I was like, well, I guess trying to get out the flat Earth message and trying all this is kind of depending on how hot it is outside. Because you guys really ain't out there in the middle of the day when it's nasty hot. You guys get out there. You're out there in the morning or in the evening.
That brings up a great point, because I mentioned a couple times in the debate that we had this planned for over 2 months. And the reason that we had it planned for so long is she wouldn't debate me until the weather got cold enough that she couldn't go outside. And so that's how we ended up with late November.
Wow.
That's how you...
I have the emails to prove it.
I guess flat Earth isn't enough of a thing to get out the word when it gets a little bit too chilly for you.
Yeah.
It's not important enough anymore.
Well, that's like, they kind of go off a little bit of subject. Just like with, stuff with Afghanistan. If you notice, when it gets or in combat areas like Afghanistan, Iraq, places like that, when it starts getting really, really cold out, you'll notice the insurgency operations really die down. When it starts getting hot out again,
good job.
they pick back up again.
I'm proud of you.
So I guess God doesn't get his thing during the hot days, during the cold days, but he does get his action during the nice summer days.
Yeah, they call it fighting season for a reason.
Yeah. But it's the same thing with the flat earthers who would meet up there. You never see them out there at Fort Irwin Road or at the Fort Irwin Gate protesting for Goldstone, but you definitely see them out there by JPL, and they'd be out there for a little while in the morning, and then they wouldn't be out there in the afternoon because it'd be too hot. And then when it got cold out, of course, they wouldn't be out there at all. But they would be out there in the evenings, the summer evenings. But when it got cold, they wouldn't be out there, and they would never go way out to the desert.
Wow.
This is inconvenient. I guess it's inconvenient for the truth, I guess. So
the desert gets cold.
We had another super chat. I'm going to read that out really quickly. Oh, geez, Mr. President 99 again for 10 euros. Man, you're too kind. I really appreciate it. He said, most, if not all, flat earthers that are, quote, famous are in it for the money, nothing more. The rest is, well, let's just say school was hard for them, or the pavement. Take your pick.
Well, if you notice with the big time flat earthers like Bob, FE core, those kinds. You notice all the big ones will never go into debates outside their echo chambers because they're basically kind of sit on top of their little kingdoms and have all the little peasants do their fighting for them. They put out something that they know that they're going to get chewed up on. So what they do is they tell their minions, and then their minions go out and fight the little battles for them out there in the discussions pages, in the chats and the discords. But you'll never see the big ones go, try and get up on MC Tune or Red's Rhetoric or with you Kennedy or with anybody else. They like being safe, kind of separated from the peasants. I'm Bob, the engineer, commercial pilot. Listen to me. The Earth is flat. Now here's why the Earth is flat. Now argue my points for me to somebody else. Oh, you're getting chewed up by that? Well, it's not affecting me because I'm so insulated from them that you just do my work for me.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to quote flat smack someone out in public, right? When they don't have the answers ready. And let's admit it, most people haven't thought that hard about these things, so they don't have all the answers. But then they come to someone like us, and we have all the answers, and they just flounder around like a fish, which is exactly what Marilyn did, except she managed to debunk herself on at least 2 occasions. I'm gonna read out one super chat really quickly, and then I'll come back to that. Aaron Armstrong said, "SC, can you change your pic, please?" I picked that picture. I'll change it. I understand some people are uncomfortable with guns. Just give me a moment. I'm kind of doing that in the background there. But yeah, when she brought up the different continent sizes in NASA photos, and you showed her your picture, and she slowly came to the realization of why they looked different and didn't seem to understand that she was debunking herself.
Yeah, and the thing is, I have done that a couple different times. And if you remember my debate with, God, what was that dude's name? Matthias something or another?
Oh, Matthias the Walking Witness?
Right, when he called me a liar during the debate. And so I did that observation live. I walked up to my globe with it zoomed in, and as I walked away, I zoomed more and more, and then I managed to corner him on a live stream on Jose's channel, and he said, "Okay," and he finally just gave in, which is odd for a flat earther, but but the rest of them are still holding strong on the different continent sizes mean different things, even though it's so obvious.
Yeah, they somehow think that every photo of the Earth taken from space is taken with the same camera, the same focal length, the same filters, the same everything, so they should all look the same, and from the same altitude. They all, and with the same technique. That's
Right.
their problem. They can't comprehend that,
Even
if I
after
take
I
myself,
explained it to her, she still said, well, they should, look the same. And I said, no,
Yeah,
these...
I like when she mentioned, like, they don't tell you these things when they publish these photos. It's like, yes, they
they
do.
do.
You just have to look.
In the metadata, yeah.
Not only that, but they'll post it on Facebook or social media or something, and they'll say this photo was taken by a satellite that did this, and then we did some compositing, and they explain the whole thing every time.
Right. And
Yeah,
how many flat earthers have said, look at this, it's obviously a cartoon. But then you look at it and it says artist rendering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry,
even
guys,
then,
I cut you off.
no, and even then is when they talk about composites. They seem to think that composite means fake. It's like if I go out and take pictures of Mount Shasta or I do a panoramic with my drone that takes 21 individual photos to do a 180 panoramic, that everything in the picture now is fake. The Sierra Nevadas in the background are fake. The city of Fresno and Madera are both fake. Everything in the picture is fake because now it's a composite. A composite has nothing to do about that the subject that's in the picture itself is fake. It has nothing to do about that. It's like if I take a picture of a tree and I can't take it in the entire frame of it at the same time, but if I take it in stages and then I go in there and I stitch them all together, it's still the same tree. I just use a different technique to get it.
Yeah,
You just can't comprehend that.
I just did that a couple months ago. I was at a really nice cottage country house that we were working in, and I wanted to get a nice photo of the shoreline, but it was too wide, so I did it in a panorama. Is that beach fake? Hell no.
Well, the function of your camera, when like modern cell phone cameras, when you do the panoramic, where basically you start from the left or the right, you just go to the, you move it,
Yeah.
and it takes that scan. Where do flat earthers think that technology came from? It wasn't it, that whole process of scanning images has been around for a long time. That's how the cameras on the Viking landers. That's why you look at the cameras where they're at. They look like slits. And basically, it did the same thing that modern day cell phone cameras do. They basically went from one direction and really slowly scan an image and then sent it up instead of just being, a single lens camera taking a snapshot or something. That's how they got their wide panoramics with that slit. It basically did the same thing a modern cell phone does. The flatters don't understand that's where that technology came from.
Yeah. No, anytime you bring up like there's a word for that, those byproducts of modern society that originated with NASA. And anytime you bring up any of that work, it seems like they just get so triggered that you're even talking about NASA that they just discount it altogether. Nope, that's crap. Nope, that never happened.
Well, they also seem to forget the whole part of the A, in the part of NASA, the National Air and Nautics and Space Administration. They're talking about, NASA isn't just space. They do stuff with civilian airplanes. They do stuff to make your flights on commercial airlines safer.
It's like they don't know what the first A stands for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aeronautical, yeah. And Lord knows as much as I fly lately. I'm going to Hawaii on the 1st. So thanks, NASA.
But back in the 70s, 80s, they were taking full-size commercial jets that were no longer being used and deliberately crashing them to study, what's the best way to, the brace. Do you keep your head up? Do you kneel down? How to stop fires? Engines. We call it engine efficiency, engine safety. If you have a blade off event, when the turbine blades comes off, how do you make the engines more safer? That's all kinds of stuff that's developed through NASA or tested through NASA over the years. The flat earthers just only think that NASA does one thing: it's only space, and that NASA's only job is to prove the globe Earth to everybody. When the rest of the world has moved on past as if it's flat or a globe, and they're just still, we don't look back anymore. We don't go, well, it could be flat, so let's start a whole agency just to find out if it's flat or not. We've already figured that part out.
And they're really confused. They're really confused. Like, well, why doesn't NASA just do this to show us? Well, because NASA doesn't care about you.
Yeah.
That'd be like saying, I don't understand how turbine engines work on boats. So we need to get rid of all the turbine engines on boats. We need to go back to sailing and start this whole process over again so I can understand it. It's not how it works.
And in fact, they always demand things from NASA. And one of the things they love to demand is, why is there no 24/7 video feed of Earth from a distance? And I keep telling them, there was one. It got canceled because nobody watched it.
Right.
Yeah.
It was what was the Dish Network?
Yeah,
or
Dish Earth.
The other one.
Dish Earth, yeah.
Well, the thing is, flat earthers think that the flat Earth debate that's online, quote unquote, is this big, great deal on the internet that everybody's wondering what's going on. Flat earthers don't seem to understand that cute cat videos get a hell of a lot more views and likes than any flat earther stuff that ever gets.
Oh yeah.
There's cat videos out there with 25 million views, and you're talking flat Earth and stuff. Maybe it breaks 1 million, all of it to total over a year. They think it's this big deal. It's not. When I was at Goldstone and I was talking to people like, hey, I was down there in LA and I was debating with the flat earth, and they're like, what the hell is a flat earther?
Right.
What's the guy who thinks the Earth's flat and this and that? And it's like they just laugh and chuckle, and we just go right back to work, talking to the Voyager probes and everything else we got going on up there.
Yep.
Oh,
so, gentlemen, I got to get up in the AM. I'm gonna dip out.
All right.
If that is okay.
Yeah, that's no problem. We've been going for just about an hour, so we'll probably wrap up relatively soon here.
But if everybody could Let me see. Where am I at right now? How many subs do I have?
Let's
5.
find that out.
I was hoping to hit 800.
Pull up your channel so I can spam it in the chat here.
Hey, Kat, do you know that I have a astrophotography Twitter?
I have never twatted, as a matter of fact.
Okay, so I don't have to worry about. Okay, never mind then.
I'm never going to look at your twat. I'm sorry.
You're at 791.
No, come on. We can get to 800.
I think so. At least during the length of the stream, I think we can get to 800. Come on, guys. I spammed the link in the chat. Subscribe to Schrodinger's Cat. As you can see, the man debunks Flat Earth with the greatest no-nonsense attitude I've ever seen.
All right. And I have my son is here, and he really, really wants to say hi. Winston, 128 people are going to say here, an 11-year-old, say hello. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Wait, is this a live stream?
It's a live stream. Say hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Winston.
Hi, Winston.
So I thought maybe I could do a little thing where I would pick out someone who's on here, and I try and find the bestest roast I could do them.
Okay. This man right here, look at him. Winston can't hear y'all, by the way. That guy right there, his name is Dead Kennedy in Space. And tell him why his avatar is stupid.
Dead County in space. At least I didn't copyright someone's head and just put a brain in it. Because it looks like that. It looks like you if you're retarded.
Okay. All right. Say goodnight, Winston.
That's pretty good, man.
Wait, how about we just change a little bit, one real quick?
Hey, Kat, can you get him to ask? Can you ask him? Can you ask him if the Earth is flat or a globe?
Hold on. I'm going to put earphones on him.
Oh.
All right, guys. Say what you were going to say.
Hey, Winston, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, is the Earth flat or a globe?
It's clearly round.
Okay, cool. Now we got
Nice.
a soundbite for all the flat earthers who get kids to say it's flat.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Winston.
So I got a little question about your avatar, and it's more like a roast. I think guys on crack think your avatar makes less sense than them.
This is killing me. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I just roasted.
All right. Tell them goodnight.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Night.
Winston.
Okay. Sorry. He loves that.
That kid is great. That's hilarious.
Yeah. All right. I'm getting out of here.
All right.
I
well,
appreciate the after show, Kennedy and Geist View. Always a pleasure.
You too, Kat.
absolutely. Man. Thank you for the debate. It was a pleasure to watch you commit another murder live on stream.
I know. It's just amazing how much effort I put in for so little return. I wonder if I'm just going to hang up my spurs.
This next time, Kat, just when you debate a flat earther, you've done this many times, but pick one subject to talk about, so they can't go into long tirades. So we're going to discuss gravity. We're going to the shape, the Antarctica or something like that. You know, that way they can't.
Yeah, I was supposed to have one with what's the little whiny dude?
Well, that narrowed it down.
Oh no, I made a video about it because he backed out of the debate. He's the
That
one
really
that
narrowed it down.
he sits in his room and he has the Arwen. That's his name.
Oh,
He was gonna debate me on gravity, and then he backed out. So I just made a whole gravity video. But they're more and more just. I was wondering earlier today if she was even going to show up because that's their MO lately.
it's just when you have subjects of the shape of the Earth, they will go off in any tangent they possibly can. But if I've learned over the years to nail them down to one thing and just keep pounding on that one point until they figure out that they're wrong, and then they can move on to something else. Right. But just when you say what's the shape of the Earth, they can come up with anything, any they start losing one topic, they'll just switch over to the next thing, and it's still within the parameters of debate. But if it was like the Antarctic Treaty or something like that, that way they have to stay on subject.
Right. Well, maybe that's why she got mad there at the end, because she knew that I had her cornered. So
Could be.
I don't know.
Could have been a bit of a kind of reactionary thing going on there.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody stay in touch, and I'm going to go to sleep.
For sure. You have yourself a good night, sir.
Yes, sir. You too. And guys, see you again.
Yep. See you on Friday, I guess.
Yes, actually, I'm going to start showing up again for that. I'm going to. And everybody in the chat, thanks for being here. Subscribe, please. I hope to see 800 when I get up in the morning.
You hear that, guys? 800. This
800.
channel right here.
All right.
There we go.
Bye, guys.
A few times. Take care, man.
Yep.
Bye.
And I should get caught up on super chats here because we had one that would actually be good for you to answer, guys. For you, Jason donated $4.99. Thank you very much. Can someone explain why flat earthers use cameras to look at stars and planets instead of telescopes?
Because it's cheap, and they can play the game of they usually that kind of thing for them. Well, first off, it's cheap. Relatively, a P1000, $1,000. So give or take when you say cheap, but it's also one of those things about reproducibility. So if somebody has a telescope that's very expensive and they don't have it and they can't use it, they say it can't be reproduced. That makes it invalid. That's one of their things. The reason why they stick with the P900 and the P1000 is it's something that they can almost all of them go by and point into something and go, well, I see it, but here's this guy with all this really expensive stuff, and he goes out there and sees it better than I can, but I can't reproduce it on my P1000, so now I have an excuse of why, the guy with expensive gear sees something. I can dismiss his stuff because I don't see it with mine.
Yeah,
and of course,
that's kind of the vibe I get from it, is that it's really accessible to just point a P1000 at this guy, and they don't want to take the effort of learning how to properly use a telescope.
Well, I think it was Astronomy Live tweeting to me a while back for my other Twitter for my Twitter for my Astro stuff. But anyways, somebody took the Google Pixel 4 camera and stuck it up to an eyepiece for a telescope, and actually got an image of I can't remember the name of the galaxy that it was. I think it might be the Bode or the Cigar. But anyways, they actually got through a telescope using the Google Pixel 4, the one that has the night shot one. They actually got the image of a galaxy through it. Not as good as I can get out of it. But I'll post that. I'll find an image on my phone and I'll post it to Dead Kenny's Twitter. So if you guys want to kind of look what a Google Pixel 4 looking through a telescope can get, that's where you can stand it if you got good optics.
If you guys want to see some truly amazing astrophotography, follow Astrogeist, right?
Yeah, Astrogeist.
Follow Astrogeist on Twitter. Incredible stuff. You'll see the Orion Nebula like you've never seen it before. You will see galaxies like you've never seen them before. Really amazing stuff. It blows my mind. Like,
it takes hours of sitting out there.
Yeah, and I honestly didn't realize you could, like, this is kind of why I love Flat Earth. It's taught me so much about the real world. I didn't know you could get like Hubble quality images with a ground-based telescope. I figured the atmosphere would get in the way too much, but I never really considered all these different filters and image stacking and all this, kind of processing you can do to it.
I mean, I'll put it like this. I get very nice imaging. I wouldn't say exactly my stuff is Hubble quality because Hubble can get really close to, I get this wide field what I can see. Hubble, you can get really, really close, and it's hard to explain. I've always used I'm sure people may or may not have seen the on Red's channel with not horse, the nebula, what they call it, the pillars of creation. It looks like a dog barking up one of the pillars. I get this very wide angle, wide angle what I can see. The Hubble can basically zoom in on that one looks like a dog and actually look at the stars being created in that imagery. But I get the entire nebula. That's the difference between. I mean, it's hard to explain. I would have to put it out there on Dead Kennedy's Twitter. You know, the difference between what Hubble can pull off, can get, and what I can get. And for me, it's not just taking flat earthers who think you just take a telescope, point it at the sky, take a picture, and you're done. I sit out there for hours and hours with the shutter open for 600 seconds, 900 seconds just to get one image. Then I sit down for another 900 seconds or another 600 seconds or 300, whatever I'm imaging. And I basically just sit out there and I'll take 10, 14 of these images. Then I go in there and I basically stack them. And then stacking gets rid of all the fuzzy, the ones where the atmosphere made things move a little bit, or made things not queer, made things not clear. It basically gets rid of that one, so it keeps all the nice sharp images. So I might have a set of 18 images, but I might only get a stack out of it with 5, because everything else was just crap because of the wind blew the telescope and it vibrated a little bit, or there was crap in the air, or a plane flew by, so I got this nice long streak across my thing, so I got to start all over again. It's actually a process to this whole thing. Plus, you got to have good gear and a good camera and take care of your stuff and know what you're doing and good tracking and good alignments and all that jazz. And yeah,
it seems like it requires a lot more effort than a flat earther's capable of.
Yeah, it's like I was saying with the they always talk about reproducibility of sciences like that can be reproduced. If they can't reproduce it, which means they don't want to go out and buy the equipment to go do it, it can't be reproduced, so they can just dismiss it. And if they can be reproduced with a cell phone or with a P900, and somebody else can reproduce it with a P900, and it gets a crappy result, well, that's to them that's not reality because it's a crappy result. But if you want, it's like saying pictures taken back with digital cameras in 1994 or whatever, where it was 100 pixels by 100 pixels, and it was all whatever pixel art.
Right.
Now, is that stuff fake? Even though you can still reproduce it with the imagery, it's kind of hard to explain. It just, if you're trying to do things right, you got to have the right equipment. And I've had flat earthers, get up on my Twitter talking about basically NASA's programmed the images into my camera or programmed it into my telescope, and that just tells me they don't understand how telescopes work, because it's basically there's a big light bucket. There's no computer in there to put something on my screen, and my camera just basically looks down a pipe, and whatever it sees, but I gotta leave the shutter open for a long time to get my imagery.
Yeah there's so much work that goes into it, and man, just the images that you've come up with just on your Twitter are freaking stellar. Which, by the way, we also have IB Hunter in the chat, who is also an astrophotographer. He's done some really awesome stuff as well. Some great photos of the Orion Nebula. A really great photo of the Eagle Nebula, where he overlaid Hubble's Pillars of Creation picture, and it matches up perfectly, of course.
You talking about him or me?
IB Hunter.
Oh, I've done. I'll try to find the pictures again. I'll do like one thing on my Twitter. I'll tweet out one where I have mine of the Eagle Nebula, and I'll put in the cropped image of the Pillars of Creation with the Orion, or not Orion, but with the Hubble, and you can kind of see what I can get out of it.
Yeah, and folks, you will be surprised at how similar they can be when you really put some effort in. Just want to announce really quickly, where was it? Somebody, Glober Mom, there she is. She said Schrodinger's cat is at 805 subs, so thanks very much, guys. I am very sure that Schrodinger will appreciate that. And I like that 33C came back and said, this terrible show is still going, and Factard just said, you're a joke, sit down.
Oh, the 33UC who came out and said that the when that boat that sank over in California, off Catalina Island, and they first reported it out, was 33 deaths in the very first report. And then I go back and I actually look through the reports, and it came out, the very first report came out, they were claiming 15 deaths, and they didn't have the entire body count yet. Then they came out with higher numbers, and eventually they got up to their 33. Then it was 34. But they didn't come out with the very first come out. They didn't come out with the very first report of 33 deaths. Sorry, it was 15 deaths very first reported. Then it went up from there after bodies were recovered.
And 33, you see, has the expected response. Not true. You're wrong.
Oh well, yeah. This one I screen capped the entire news article, and with the data at the top saying 15 bodies recovered, or sorry, suspected 15 bodies, 15 people have died in tragic boat fire, and it gives the date and the time that they put it out. It was one of the first reports about it, but he's saying one of the first reports were coming out was 33 were claimed to be dead, but he can't show anything saying 33 were dead, anything before my time that I quoted. So yeah, here we are. Clown.
Yeah, he's something else. I mean, I had him. No, you're not coming on. You came on once already, and you couldn't behave yourself. This is the thing: is I brought him on a stream, and I said, look, let me just give you a huge give right now, and say, just for the sake of argument, every news article with a 33 in it is fake. Fine, sure. Now how's the Earth flat? And he couldn't stay on subject for 5 seconds. It was unbelievable. So no, you're not coming on. Kevin, man, I adjusted the volume levels a little bit. I turned down the desktop audio somewhat. At some point, I'll get voice meter all properly set up so that my mic isn't constantly wavering in and out. I have this bad habit of moving my head around a lot, moving myself around a lot when I talk. So sometimes my voice goes in and out. But I turned the desktop audio down a little bit. It should be better matching to the to my mic audio now. Sorry about that.
I'm on my cell phone with the headphones on and using a mouth mic, and you're coming in you're fine with me. I don't hear any changes in anything. So.
Oh yeah, I mean it looks good on mine as well. Like it actually looks like I'm louder than the other audio on my levels right now, but it always comes through differently on stream. I don't know. Friggin' technology. It brings us all together, you know.
Yep.
But we've been, how long have we been going here? About an hour 10. about an hour 10. That's not bad for an after show, because I mean, there really wasn't much to discuss in that one, right? Like, it was all points from 2015 and beforehand.
Well, I got like I said, I got there in the I guess the last 30 minutes or so when she started talking about telescopes, and that's pretty much like I got in about 3 minutes before that, and that's what got me all like I put it in the side chat. Did somebody just say something about telescopes? And then she started talking about Antarctica, and it's like, did somebody say something about Antarctica? Because if you don't know, Kennedy, I was in Antarctica from May of 2017 to April of 2019. So I was there for almost 2 full years and almost full 2 winter overs. So when she starts talking about Antarctica and who's being guarded and who does what and who owns what, and they read off the treaty, they have no idea what they're talking about. Literally, they have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, the treaty was bad. That felt like another moment where she kind of debunked herself there, where they're both citing the same document, but what Schrodinger reads is fake and what she read is true. Like, what?
They don't understand when they talk about, like, you know, it's Antarctica isn't this free for all area where a bunch of, if you want to be flat earthers and go up there and kind of export and do your thing, get the permits from whatever country that you're from to go down there. So if something bad happens, they know where you're at, so they come, get your carcass off the continent or wherever you guys are at. That's the whole purpose of the whole permit process. So they say, well, if it's being permitted, if you need a permit, that means they're hiding something. Well, I live 40 miles outside of Yosemite, and if you want to go into the backcountry of Yosemite, you need a permit. If you want to go climb Half Dome, you need a permit. If you want to go climb El Capitan, you need a permit. It's just the way things are. Having a permit doesn't mean they're trying to hide something. That means that they know where you're at, so if something happens, they know your plans. But it's not like Antarctica is where they want to have a bunch of people go down and have a flat earther party and leave people use trash and garbage and oil spills and human waste. Because even at McMurdo, when you go to the if you got to go take a shit or something, sorry, I my language. If you got to go take a crap,
you have to bag it.
It goes down to the sewer treatment area.
Mm.
It gets all emaciated up, ground up, and then it gets dehydrated. And then they put that stuff in 55-gallon drums, and then when the ice pack opens and the cargo ship comes down to pick everything up, all human waste gets taken off. The only thing that gets put back into the water is urine. But everything else, that gets treated, beyond, you can go at the outflow pipe and, drink the, what do you call it? Drink what they put back out there because it's ultra pure. But human feces and stuff like that literally gets dehydrated, freeze dried, and then gets put into 55-gallon containers, sealed shut, thrown in a warehouse, or a shipping container, thrown in a warehouse, and then when the cargo ship comes, all that stuff gets taken down to the dock and put on the boat and taken off continent. Everything gets, recycled. Everything gets, if cardboard, trash, oils, all that stuff gets taken off. So if flat earthers want to go down there and start having a party and leaving human waste and trash and garbage and everything else, because we're down here doing exploring, so we're going to do what we want to do. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Sorry for rambling.
No, it's all good. I took the moment to decide to time out 33 UC there because he's just a fucking idiot. Yeah, I've got nothing from that guy. But I mean, like what else was there to say that that Marilyn brought up? Oh, she brought up, of course she did. She brought up 8 inches per mile squared, and just did not accept when Schrodinger said it's not accurate. It's used for short distances, and that's it.
Yeah, it's like when flat earthers always talking about the flat earth and whatnot, and water seeks its own level, but then when you get them going about tides, there's a high tide and a low tide, so definitely the water can't be quote unquote level or flats because there's a high part of it and a low part of it. How come the high part doesn't want to flow into the low part of it? Yada yada. Well, we're just going to ignore that one. Water's level, and level means flat, and flat means horizontal, and horizontal means level, and circular reasoning.
Yeah, that one bothers me too. Just the fact that the existence of tides debunks the whole water is always level. Well, no, it's not. It's being tossed around the earth on a daily basis.
Yeah, they got in their little brains, their little script. Water level means flat means flat earth. That's as far as their brain will take the whole conversation about level. They never quite think about it's sea level, so how come they don't call it, if flat and level are the same thing, why don't they just call it sea flat? Or what's the flat of the water behind a dam? Or at what flat is considered flood stage for the water going over a dam? Level means something from, it means a distance from something. So whenever they say the earth is flat and level, or the surface is flat and level, I just go level from what? It's the simplest way to get around that whole. But they get, like I said, they get their brain stuck on flat means level means flat means horizontal means level. It's a big circular argument. And then you ask them, do words have meanings? And then they come up with something like that. You just go, can a ring be square? And they'll say no, it's impossible. A ring can't be square. And then you just go, what about a boxing ring?
That's good. That's a good one. Yeah,
where's that meanings?
That's the argument I always have with that Bev. Try thinking. He'll always go, this is what level means, and I keep saying, okay, that's great. The definition of words doesn't change reality. Yeah,
words are descriptive, not prescriptive. They can have multiple meanings. They can mean different things at different times. But he brings up the whole level on a used for carpentry and whatnot. A carpenter's level, and he doesn't quite understand. He just looks at it, but doesn't actually understand how the bubble works. It needs gravity for it to actually be centered in the middle. Yeah. Because it needs to be, because the bubble wants to be centered, wants to be level to the center of the Earth. Directional pull of gravity, and he doesn't quite, or Bev or whatever the hell his name is, doesn't quite grasp that whole concept. But as long as he did, he looks at a level and he'll look, oh, that's my carpenter's level, and it looks flat, and then it's horizontal. If I hold up my eyes, it's horizontal. Well, I could take a ruler and put it on a globe, take a picture of it, and as long as both sides of the the ruler on my globe are the same distance from the surface of the sphere, the ruler is horizontal, but it's still on a sphere.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There was actually a great moment where Schrodinger demonstrated more or less that, where he drew a relatively straight line on his whiteboard, and he said, so this line is flat, right? Okay. And then he turned it kind of, I think about 45 degrees and said, now it's level. And started drawing lines showing like the pull to the center of gravity. And yeah, that like we're debating here with people who don't really understand the difference between down and towards the center of the earth,
or down and like they always say, when we say down, like going over the horizon, or the bulge of the bulge, they think that's literally a change in elevation. It's not how it is. It's they can't grasp concepts that are beyond the very layman's usage of terminologies. Like I say, it goes all back to the whole level versus flat, horizontal, all that jazz. They got in their brains flat means, because when you deal with street flat earthers, that's exactly what the first thing they go to. See, that's water level. But when you say level doesn't mean flat. Well, then they start going into a whole. Well, it does. And that's when you start bringing up. Okay, then why when they talk about sea level, why do they call it sea level, not sea flat? If the word flat and level are the same thing, then why don't you use sea flat instead of sea level? Why don't you use, I've already put out the other two examples of that, how you can get around that one with them. But the simple concepts they have a hard time grasping, is what I would say. Or anything outside their lamest usage of things, they can't really grasp. And a lot of them get so wrapped up into what they've said that to the point of even they recognize that they're wrong, but now they have to keep fighting. Sorry. They have to keep arguing to save face, because now they got themselves so invested into it. Now, if they say they were wrong, it's going to make them look bad. So instead of trying to look bad, they'll just keep going on the same thing. Because it's like I had that argument with, I think you were in it too, also with Bev on Twitter.
Yeah.
You can't have a curved line on a sphere. So I just took a picture of the equator on my globe, looking straight down at it. It looks perfectly straight.
Yeah.
Yet it's still curved.
Yeah, I think I did the same thing. I showed him a line drawn over it was all just a drawing. There was no photograph to it, but it was a line drawn over a rectangle, or rather a cuboid, and the line goes straight and then up the cuboid, across the top, down, and on the other side. If you look at it from above, it's a straight line. Yeah, and
it's
all you
literally
need is another perspective.
Well, it's literally they can't think in 3D. They can only literally think in two dimensions.
Yeah.
It's like literally when you can almost hear their brains start to break when their brains are about to comprehend that that there's a third dimension to this that they're not thinking about. You can almost hear their brains almost about to figure it out, and then that little hamster dies on his wheel because he just got tuckered out.
And you start seeing smoke coming out of their ears.
Yeah, you start smelling hair burning. It's about to get ugly, and they call the ambulance.
And that's pretty much what we watched today. There were several moments. If you go back and rewatch it, there were several moments during that debate where Marilyn was just caught and had absolutely no idea what to say. And I think I saw in a couple of those moments, pardon me, of her maybe kind of subconsciously realizing, oh, maybe this was a bad idea. Maybe I don't have all the answers, but that could just be wishful thinking on my part. I'm not sure. But I mean, that's what we saw today. It was the usual. Nothing new out of this debate. It was all points from 2015 and beforehand, and Schrodinger shot them down with the usual calm efficiency that he usually does. See, this is why I titled that one video Schrodinger's cat toys with a flat earth mouse, because that's what he was doing towards the end of the debate. She had nothing, and he was just kind of, it was like watching a cat toy with a mouse.
Yeah, it's like I said with Schrodinger before I got off, when you guys have debates with flat earthers, you gotta start with a subject. Be it gravity.
Yeah.
If you're going to talk about curve of the shape of the Earth, and make it very specific about saying looking over water or like specific observations and stuff like that. But if you just say like a general topic of what's the shape of the Earth, they will literally bounce from one topic to the other. Then they'll start going down the whole like she does with the conspiracies that people are trying to hide things. That's not part of the discussion. You can have the entire world could be one big conspiracy about the shape of the Earth, and it's not going to have anything to do about the actual physical shape of the Earth. It just when you guys have discussions with these people, you have to. Okay, this is the debate. Okay, what's the debate about?
Right. You have to focus it and.
Yeah, because if you let them go off on tangents, the entire thing is gonna be nothing but one big tangent, and you're just basically trying to fight to get everything back on order, and it just starts drifting off into. Instead of being prepared for what you need to be prepared for, now you're debating about how many lizard people are taking over from the government, because Marilyn, if this was the 80s with Marilyn, this would be all about the new age crystal healing, that kind of thing, and people down at the mall or whatever, or going into cults and whatnot. Hare Krishnas is like that from the 70s. It'd be the same basic concept. It's just now everybody has the internet, and flat earthers can go on there and find stuff that can force to their beliefs about everybody's lying to me and whatnot, and then you just form your beliefs around that because she's talking about the 3 city states, and she talks about the Vatican, and then talks about London, then talks about Washington DC, and I'm like, she doesn't know what the hell a city state is. She's just calling these places city states. The only quote unquote city state in the whole list she gave was the Vatican. But how come Monte Cassino? How come that didn't have why is that not considered a city state? It's all these it's all this weird stuff that they come up with about. I'm starting to drift off now and just yabber. But you see what I'm getting
you're saying though, yeah, like she was talking out of her ass the whole debate and didn't really seem to understand anything. Like you were saying, like what a city state is, and I mean. There was a point where she completely screwed up what a ring laser gyro measures. She thought it measured the curve. It was amazing, and every time she said 15 degrees, she thought somehow she was talking about the curve, and then Schrodinger's only response to it was to say something to the effect of "That's not what a ring laser gyro measures. I relinquish the rest of my time." It was brilliant.
Well, it's like when they talk about flat earthers talking about the ether and whatnot. And with the
she brought up the ether. She thinks the ether exists.
Well, it's like I'm trying to remember the exact name here. Michelson Morley. Yeah, basically the one that came up and detected no motion with the ether. So they go, oh, there's no motion with the ether. That means that there's no motion to the Earth, and they just jump all over that one.
Yeah.
But they also will say, like with Bob, will now go with the gyro. And it's picking up now, quote unquote, the heavenly energies, which would be just another fancy way of saying the ether. So you got on one hand the flat earthers saying that there's been no detected motion of the ether. That means the Earth is stationary. And then you got another flat earther saying that the ether, quote unquote, the heavenly energies are moving, and this is what moves the gyro. So you're literally having one group saying that it's not moving because there's no movement of the ether, and they're saying, well, the ether is moving. So which one is it? And they're both trying to argue against each other, but they're both saying that they're true.
Right. Yeah, that was kind of the big issue I had with Riley, basically trying to push flat Earth into the education system, because my thought was, what are you going to teach? That the Earth is a flat plane that may or may not have a dome over it, may or may not have an ice wall around it, may or may not have heavenly waters above the dome, may or may not be moving upward at 9.8 meters per second squared. Like, there's no consistency to it.
Well, it's also when you start talking when they talk about first off, they confuse gas pressure with atmospheric pressure, but they like to kind of switch the two terms between one another, which is not how it is. But how do you measure a gas cylinder? How do you measure gas pressure in a cylinder?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. If you're trying to measure gas pressure in a cylinder, where's the gauge?
I'm not quite grasping the question. I'm sorry.
Okay, Riley and them talk about gas pressure and atmospheric pressure and all that stuff, right?
Right.
Okay. And they're saying that we're in a dome.
Yeah.
That's how our pressure's at. Okay, let's break this down.
Oh, yeah.
How do you measure the gas pressure, or how do you measure and where do you measure pressure inside a cylinder from?
The bottom.
Outside the cylinder. Like you always see, like oxygen tanks, acetylene tanks, gas pressure in your tire. Where's the gauge? Is it inside the cylinder or is it external to the cylinder?
Yeah, that makes more sense. Sorry, I feel stupid now.
No, I'm just trying to say, when they say gas pressure, we're measuring pressure and da-da-da-da. How are you measuring? You're measuring pressure inside a container by measuring it against something else. So if you're measuring, like, say, it's gonna be high pressure anyways, but like acetylene tank or something like that, that's got, say, 1,000 pounds of pressure inside an acetylene tank. The gauge is on the outside, and the gauge is measuring the difference between what's inside the tank and what's outside the tank. So where is the gauge on the dome of the Earth so you can measure the internal pressure?
Right. Yeah.
You would have to be outside the dome looking at a gauge attached to the dome to measure the pressure inside of it. A barometric pressure gauge would be inside the container.
Right.
But they're talking about gas pressure. Gas pressure is just measured with a gauge that you would have stuck outside the cylinder to measure the difference between the two, between the atmosphere and what's inside the container. So I'm just trying to get people to think when they talk about this whole pressure, and how do you measure pressure that's inside a container? Where is the gauge? Is the gauge inside the container or is it external to the container?
Yeah.
Some food for thought.
Yeah, definitely. And you were talking earlier about wanting to get kind of more focused debates with flat earthers. Speaking of, if there's any flat earthers in the chat, I would love to debate them specifically about NASA fakery. I want some real evidence that anything NASA has ever done is fake. Prove to me that a picture of the Earth is fake. Prove to me that the moon landings are fake. Prove to me that the ISS spacewalks are fake. Any of it. Anything coming from NASA, I want to see why you say it's fake. Oh, I just remembered the other moment Marilyn debunked herself, because it was to do with NASA fakery. She brought up bubbles during spacewalks, which I'm sure you've heard about, right?
Yeah, the bubbles that don't act like bubbles that go in every direction besides in one solid direction.
Yeah.
But then flat earthers will say, well, they just turned the camera. Well, when did they turn the camera?
Yeah, that Schrodinger's response to it was pretty brilliant, because he just brought up a picture of the mock ISS in the swimming pool, and you can see all kinds of bubbles coming from the scuba suits, and he says, "Do the bubbles in the videos look like that?" And she goes, "No, they don't." And he goes, "Thank you."
Well, it's, when they bring up the whole pool thing, one thing of debunks that they're actually, when they're spacewalking and they have and they're outside the ISS, compare what their heads look like inside their helmets in a pool compared to what their images look like outside the ISS.
That's a good point. Yeah.
When they're in a pool, they look like their heads are inside a bubble, so their face is going to be, everything's all shrunk inside of it, because the lights, passing between two different mediums, going from coming from inside the lights coming off their face, coming through the glass of their head, and then it's going through the water, so everything changes in size. Of course, well, talking about here.
Yeah.
But when you're out there, when they're doing spacewalks, and you look at their faces inside the helmets, nothing's distorted. That's another thing. When they're moving around, and they say they're underwater, look at the little things on their suits, like little tabs or little flaps.
Yeah, the way they're kind of floating around.
Well, yeah, but it's the little things that I'll go off a little tangent here. It's like with the Red Bull jump, and they always talk about the horizons like that when the door opens. Well, first off, watch that in high definition. Do a screenshot, change the brightness, drop down the highlights, bring up the contrast and brightness. you'll actually see the physical land horizon inside that white atmospheric cloudy layer. You can actually pull it out. So that's the actual horizon, not that cloudy layer you see up on top. But when you see him jump and you see his the GoPros basically looking at his suit, and you'll see this little red tab. When he jumps out of the balloon, that red tab doesn't move. It doesn't flutter, it doesn't flap, doesn't do anything. It just sits there until he starts getting back into the atmosphere. Then you start seeing, of course, you'll start seeing him start moving around again because now he's back in, air
Getting
to
more
hit
air
it.
resistance, yeah.
So you'll see this little red tab that doesn't do anything when he first comes out of there, the gondola, and then when he starts, getting back into the thicker atmosphere, he starts moving again. That's another way to talk about gradients and whatnot. But another thing with the ISS, a long time ago, about 2-3 years ago, flat earthers were always getting on this thing called it was like the astronauts leave the ISS, they go through the hatch, the airlock. The airlock has this floppy top on the top. It looks like a door.
Yeah.
And when they flop it open, it just kind of flops around because it's just a cover. But they don't realize that the actual hatch inside the hatch for the what do you call it, for the airlock actually swings inwards.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to hatch. You want to hatch when it holds pressure to basically push itself up into the walls of the craft itself, or whatever. It's basically the same thing like with a submarine. You want the hatch to open inside, so when you're, or sorry, not for submarine, never reverse. But you want the pressure of the inside of the ISS to push that hatch up into the walls to give it a better seal. You don't want the hatch on the outside trying to hold back the force just by pure mechanical means of like latches and whatnot. You basically want the pressure. Basically, the hatch of the ISS swings inwards. It doesn't flop out like that floppy door. And when they show pictures of the inside for, God, it was almost 3 years that they were just ignoring that the actual hatch of the airlock swings inwards. It's not this floppy cover on the outside. That's just the cover for the hatch when the hatch is shut. Yeah. That floppy cover they can put on top of the, it's basically a thermal blanket, so the hatch doesn't, get affected by temperatures and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about with this.
Yeah. Actually, this came up really briefly in Schrodinger's debate with Flat Earth Fokker. Fokker brought that up. You can see the hatch. It's just this flimsy little thing. And he was gish galloping at the time, so Schrodinger didn't get back to it, unfortunately. But I was standing there in the chat going, no, that's not a hatch. It doesn't even look like a hatch, first of all. And
yeah, the hatch swings inwards. Is when you close that hatch and you pressurize that airlock, you want the air pressure to push against that hatch and seal it even more against the walls of the opening. You don't want on the outside trying to clamping on and trying to hold on by sheer mechanical means. You want the air pressure to help seal that thing with shut. So the hatch swings inwards, doesn't swing outwards. But the flat earthers just see this thing flopping and go, "Oh, look, that's the hatch." Yeah, that's not how it works, dumbasses.
No. And yeah, Schrodinger also brought it up during that debate. Anybody who thinks the ISS is fake, watch that 50-minute long interview with astronaut Stephen Swanson, I believe it is. There's 2 cuts in that video, and on either side of it, or between the cuts, there's 30 minutes of unbroken footage of a man floating around through different modules, spinning on different axes, going different orientations all over the place. Tell me how that is faked. That's the only piece of evidence you need that the ISS is real to me, because that footage, I don't think they could make that footage. I don't think anybody could.
For your, you put out that debate challenge, I would just put out if I was you, I'd put out for clarification that they have to prove something that NASA says that NASA puts out that they're saying is fake. You have to kind of stipulate that they can't pick something out that NASA already says is fake.
Right.
This is a artist rendition or whatnot. They can't go, well, it says it's an art rendition, so NASA's saying it's fake, so that means NASA's lying, flat Earth, yada yada. No, that's not how it works. Something that's legitimately saying this is what's going to happen. Flat Earthers go, no, that's fake. Okay, now explain why it's fake.
Yeah.
And when they talk about one thing I love about, because I work with Harris Radio out of Goldstone, And we had to work with, with the big 70-meter Mars antenna for stuff like that. But even when you're out there and you're watching stuff on the the civilian dish networks, we basically out there in the common room, and we'd be watching sports, something like that, and all of a sudden you get the glitches and stuff in the screen because the frame rates and stuff, not frame rates, but the I can't think right now, but how the screen would freeze and certain parts of the screen would start moving and things would start catching up.
Yeah.
Fighters don't quite understand, glitches and stuff like that in transmissions.
No, they don't understand how like that kind of stuff is encoded and what a lost frame is. Like you'll get that same kind of effect on a bad quality Skype call.
You get the same thing on a if you watch live sports that are done through like the it's live via satellite. You get the same thing, especially when there's all of a sudden things start moving, and if things have been stationary for a while and they start moving, that there's frame loss. Because you notice in those when they flat earthers complain about the screen, the people out there being glitching and stuff like that. If you notice, it's always the parts that are moving is the quote unquote parts that are glitching. The stuff that's stationary, hasn't moved in the screen, is not glitching because it's not. It doesn't have to refresh that part anymore. It's only a part that's what's in this image or in the screen that's being captured by the camera has to be refreshed. Yeah. So if you got a wall that's not doing anything, it doesn't have to refresh that anymore because it hasn't moved.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, what you're seeing there is like when you're seeing that kind of quote unquote glitch effect. What you're seeing is dropped frames, and the background that's not moving. The dropped frames are going to look exactly like the previous frames anyway.
Yeah, it's the same thing with my drone and stuff like that. When I'm flying around in my in the summertime, my iPad starts heating up. I'll get the exact same thing where everything's the parts. If I tilt the camera down, everything starts getting all crazy because the iPad has started throttling because it was overheating. So it slows down the graphics processor. So I get the same kind of glitching effect where everything gets all stretched out.
Yeah.
But if I'm just looking at something and say like a car going down the road and it starts overheating, the car will start getting all glitched out. But because I'm not panning or moving the drone around and the background isn't moving, the background looks just fine. Yeah. But it's the stuff that's in motion will start glitching out because, iPads suck.
That's a good way to sum it up. iPads suck. Pardon me. So we've been going for an hour 39 here, and that's longer than I thought we would be able to talk about this debate. So I think we've done it justice here.
I just came on to shoot the shit, and if anybody had any Astro questions, or if you guys brought up telescope, I came in more for talking about like telescopes and Antarctica like that, but we never went down that stuff. So
yeah,
it was fun to come here and talk with you for the first time on your channel and whatnot.
For sure, yeah, and you're welcome back anytime. This has been super insightful. I really do appreciate all the info. Sorry, someone tagged me in chat and I got distracted for a second.
I do apologize if I go on for a while. I have a bad habit, just yep.
No, it's good. It's always. I mean, it's all been really interesting information. If I haven't, kind of been that active in responding, it's just a matter of listening.
No, just like I said, I got a bad habit sometimes that's going on and just rattling on.
I hear you. That's no problem at all. Again, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. And if you want to come back anytime, you're more than welcome. I'm sure there will be other. I hesitate to say debates because these aren't really debates, are they?
No, they're not debates. Debates are they're supposed to come with positive evidence for their position and positive evidence for the counter position. Then you guys basically go over that. These are more likely discussions, I would say.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's just a discussion because to date there has never been positive evidence for the flat Earth. And no saying we can see too far is not evidence for a flat Earth. It's at best a suggestion that we may not live on the globe we think, and then when you actually look at it, you realize we do.
Yeah, it's still a globe. Now you just start talking about sizes of things.
Yeah. If you can see too far, it doesn't mean globe destroyed, therefore flat Earth. It's really not that simple, and flat earthers need to understand that. So I think we're gonna leave it there. Again, guys, I do recommend checking out Geist V on Twitter. It was Astro Geist Astro. At
Astro
Geist
Geist
Astro.
or yeah.
That's it.
Well, the thing is, though, it's Astro Geist if you're just looking for it, but it's also. But the thing is, though, Twitter for some reason for the whole address reversed it. So it's Geist Astro at Geist Astro, or just look for Astro Geist, one or the other. So
yeah. So definitely give him a follow. You will see some amazing things, some incredible photos of the things that are in our sky that we just can't quite see with our own crappy eyes. And again, thanks for coming on. And I want to thank everyone for joining me in the chat. I appreciate it. We had like 128 people there at some point, and they all got to hear those savage roasts from Schrodinger's son. That was really funny.
Yeah, I want to get that soundbite for him of what kids saying. It's not flat.
Yeah, that would be great because there's that quote that's always used. You hear that little kid talking to Mark Sargent, and he tells him to stay flat, and the kid goes, "Yeah, I'm a flat earther," and it's so sad. It's like, kid, you're like 9. Come on.
Yep.
So again, thanks everyone very much for joining me. That's all I got. I'm working on new stuff, working on exposing Eric DeBay for the disgusting anti-Semite that he is, and we'll be back on track pretty soon. Have a good night, everyone, and I will see you over the curve, Space Cowboys.